Welcome all to the Snail Trail 4x4 podcast. If you like going off-roading in Toyotas, wrenching on Toyotas, camping in Toyotas, and maybe even poking a little bit of fun at Toyotas, and of course, hearing about how amazing snow is in Toyotas, then this is the podcast for you. That's right, ladies and germs. My name is Tyler, Snow Wheelin' Tyler, and joining me today is Mr. Snow Wheelin' Jr., Jimmy. How are you doing today, Jimmy?
I am cold.
You're cold? Why are you so cold?
I didn't bring enough clothes.
That's too bad. That's on you, man.
I know. Sorry, I was not prepared.
In your jeans and your cotton socks and tennis shoes.
Yep.
Rookie.
No, actually, these are wool socks.
Oh, look at you being all fancy. Those are fancy wool socks too.
Smart. Huh? Smart wool.
Smart wool. Got it. Oh man. How's your Monday going?
Monday is doing all right. I'm playing catch up with snail armor stuff, but hopefully done here today.
Nice. That's good. How's playing all that catch up been going for you? Has it been just super freaking busy?
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
A few long days, but it's well worth it. I mean, hopefully the name gets out there a little bit more. I've got some plans for the first quarter of next year with the release of new panels. And I'm hoping that, this holiday season kicks off that celebration in a way.
Nice. Forerunner panels?
Maybe.
Ayo.
Yeah.
I got to get you into this SUV market, man. Get you away from trucks for a little bit.
I have been eyeing some old like Suburbans.
Oh, those would be fun.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Or a Tahoe. Build up a Tahoe.
Yeah.
Did you see that the 4-door 3rd gen pickup I sent you?
Yeah. Yeah. The one that was the custom made one.
Yep.
Yeah. That one was interesting.
$10,000.
I know. I should do that. I have a few cabs I could probably pick up for cheap. No, I'm trying to figure out, and I think I've told you, we've talked about it, but King of the Hammers, I don't know what I'm going to do for housing situation yet. And the assistant.
I have the trailer reserved, by the way.
Oh, good.
So we just need to know what you want to do. So
yeah. The assistant is going to Vegas that weekend. And I was going to probably go and try to meet up with her at some point, but I don't want to tow a truck and trailer down into Vegas and like valet park it or something.
Yeah.
So I've been talking about buying a camper shell for Clifford. I might get
you going Lance life on us?
I might.
Oh, Jimmy.
Might do something like that. I'm not entirely sure yet. But I still need I need a camper shell.
Yeah.
I need some place to move panels, or product around in that when on a rainy day that's protected.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do yet, but I might get a camper shell and
just put a mattress in there kind of thing.
Put a mattress in there kind of thing, or use that as a storage location for all the stuff I take to King of the Hammers. So then when I do go to Vegas after that, I have somewhat protected, stuff instead of just having everything in the back of a truck.
Yeah. In Vegas.
So I'm trying to figure all that out right now. Don't know how that tied into everything.
Yeah. Good. I mean, it's KOH logistics. So. Yeah.
It's starting already.
I know. Oh man. Are we going to do a full month of KOH like we did last year or this year? This last January?
No,
I don't think we are either.
We got some flack for that.
We did. We got some fun feedback the first like 1 episode, 2 episodes maybe. And then towards the end of the month, people were like, really?
We're tired of this.
Tired. Move on.
Well, and then if you also listen to our sister podcast, they did like a month post KOH.
That's right.
So people had like 2 straight months of content about KOH.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a bit much.
It is. You know what my answer to that is, right?
More KOH.
No, just don't listen to the podcast.
Oh, that too.
Just kidding. They put out some valuable entertainment. I'll take my $20 later, guys.
I was going to say, episode 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, 1, 2. Oh, that's funny. Yeah, so Monday episode here.
Yep.
We are into December, so that means coming up on this Thursday, we're going to have the FNGs, birthdays, The wiener will be announced from Noviembre. And
Jim's month.
Yeah, Jim's month, whatever. Now we have a winner. We'll have a winner for that, for the 3-drawer toolkit, 232 tools from Gear Wrench. We'll have that winner this Thursday announced. And for December's giveaway, we have
the presents from Tyler and I. Mm-hmm. We're going to make up 2 boxes, maybe 3.
Maybe 3.
And I think we could do 2. And I'll arrange a box, and then you can arrange a box.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And we'll get 2 winners, and then we'll figure out who, when we choose winners, we'll figure out who gets what box. But I'll have a box that I arranged out of things we've got throughout the years of Snail Trail 4x4 podcast land, of all the gift boxes and giveaways, because a lot of times we'll do some giveaways and they'll send some extra swag or extra stuff along with that. Maybe some Snail Trail 4x4 swag in there as well. And then Tyler will do the same. Yeah. And then we'll give 2 gift boxes away. Yeah. Or not 2 presents away. One from Tyler, one from Jimmy.
And then we'll have a vote on who did it better.
Yeah. And we're gonna need the people that win to vote.
Yeah.
So you guys are going to have to vote.
My box is going to come with Tide Pods in it.
Mine's going to come with $100 bill.
Cheater. You can't do that. I like this. How this is evolving here.
All right.
That's funny. So cool. Yeah, we're going to have a couple of boxes, Christmas presents from Jimmy and I for a couple of winners here for December's giveaway. So if you want to get in on that, make sure you head over to iRate 4x4. And while you're there over at the forum board, check out a bunch of other stuff going on. So I would like to say that the Toyota forum, I believe, has the most number of topics, but it has the second number of posts to the Ford forum. Ugh. In terms of vehicle-specific forums on iRate 4x4.
That's too bad.
I know.
We should fix that.
It's mainly because of Ford's axles. That's all they're good for. So
yeah, got it. Yeah. There's just one long thread of Super Duty axles.
Pretty much, yeah, with a ton of responses on it. And that's what's driving Ford's popularity on iRate 4x4.
Got it. Okay.
I would like to say that the Mercedes forum is like the least active, because I think it's just Austin talking to himself.
Probably.
Joe might be there, like him and Joe are going back and forth on stuff.
Yeah, so, maybe Ron.
3 people on the Mercedes forum. Love you guys.
They just talk about how much they love each other and their truck.
Pretty much. Yeah. How much they like portals and how nobody else has portals and they do.
Right.
Bastards. Jealous.
Totally.
So anyways, yeah, a lot of cool stuff going on over on iRate 4x4. Some really fun conversations. So go check that out. Let's see. We have, the giveaway is, if you want to get signed up for the giveaway, it's over on the Snail Trail 4x4 forum over at iRate 4x4. Correct. So we have our own forum board, which is 4 times as active as Wheeling Wine and Whiskeys. Just like to point that out there.
Well, we release twice as many episodes.
That's true. We do release twice as many episodes.
So if you eliminated the episodes,
we'd still be twice as active.
Still twice as active.
Oh, that's funny. Love you guys. We just love picking on people here.
I think they're too old to understand how forums work.
I would agree. They're more like a phone tree. You have to contact them through phone trees. So
that are, messenger pigeons.
Yeah. Carrier pigeons.
That's what I meant. See, I'm too young. I don't even know what the name of it is.
I know, right? I'm surprised I even know what a phone tree is.
Yeah.
Bonus points to any other millennials out there who know what a phone tree is.
I'm not a millennial, but I know what a phone tree is.
Yeah. Well, you had a beeper.
Yeah. So, a pager.
Yeah, pager. Do you want to explain? I don't know if we've ever told the story about how you used your pager.
Oh, you mean, so I had so when I was younger,
I just think this is a fun story.
A lot younger. My brother and I would just go out, ride bikes all over town, miles and miles and miles away. And then my parents would page they'd call the pager, and I would be able to see who called
the phone number,
and then I would call home, collect.
So 1-800-collect or whatever.
1-800-collect, right? And then when the operator or the message person comes on and says, state your name, I would say, Jimmy at Taco Bell, Rockland. And then they go, okay. And then they'd connect. They go, we're connecting you to the phone number.
Your parents.
Yeah, my parents would pick up the phone and it would be, will you accept a phone call from Jimmy, Taco Bell, Rockland? And they go, no. And they hang up. But they knew that's when they knew where to find me.
Where to go pick
us up. Exactly. So that was my short leash, was the pager.
That's funny.
And then they would, then I'd call, collect, and tell them where to find me via, and so you never had to pay the collect charges or anything. So yeah.
That cracks me up every time I hear that story. Anyway, so yeah, if you had a pager back in the day, did you use it as smartly as Jimmy Jet did?
You had to pay for the pager, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, so what were we talking about?
Moving on, we were talking about phone trees and smoke signals and, how they probably planted like fish under their corn stalks this year. Who knows?
I don't get that reference.
Okay.
Why? Okay. I'm too young for that one.
Yeah.
Okay. We found one I'm too young for. All right. So let's see. What else do we got here? I don't think we got much else. We have a fun topic today I'm really excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. It's right in line, kind of what we were hinting at last week on Thursday. We've got some big stuff coming up here this week. Hopefully Tyler and I are able to, should we let the cat out of the bag a little bit?
Perform.
There you go. That'll work. Hopefully Tyler and I are able to perform and go retrieve a vehicle out in the middle of nowhere. And so this episode we're going to talk a lot about how to prepare for that and what, we're going to go out snow wheeling to recover a vehicle that's pretty far out there with some good obstacles in the way. And how do you prepare yourself for an adventure like this?
Yeah. I think a really good kind of a predecessor to this episode, or one that will go along with it pretty well. And I think the story after we get back from this recovery is the Glacier Girl episode that Wheeling Wine and Whiskey did with Nick Bailey.
Okay.
If you guys have not listened to that one yet, go check it out. It's probably the one episode I really like that Wheeling Wine and Whiskey has done.
Yeah.
I can't even say that without laughing. No, they've done a lot of good episodes, but this one I really thoroughly enjoyed because I love recovery stuff and I love snow stuff. So snow recoveries, I'm like, ooh, count me in as much as I can do. And so the Glacier Girl recovery was definitely one for the books. I'm hoping this one doesn't become one for the books. I'm hoping it goes really smooth, but at the same time, it's going to be a doozy. So we're going to talk a little bit about this recovery, what's going on with it, and tips and tricks for people looking to kind of get into the similar realm here. So shall we do it?
Let's do it. That was episode 164.
164 over there.
Whiskey.
Perfect. So go check out 164. It's a great episode. It'll go along in line, I think, with this one here. So let's take a quick break here so we can eat some pizza, stuff our faces, and other people can grab some popcorn and possibly some hot toddies or some like hot chocolate and Baileys or Kahlua or something.
Sounds good.
All right. Without further ado, we'll be right on back with today's main topic. Welcome back, ladies and gentle ladies. We have a fun topic, one of my favorite topics, coming up here for this episode.
Is that just because it is in regards to snow?
No, we're doing a radio episode, I thought.
No, recovery.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that one. I would like to point out there was a free radio tower, ham radio tower, posted on Facebook Marketplace, and 4 listeners sent it to me.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you couldn't get there fast enough.
No, 4 listeners sent it to me. I was like,
where was it?
Guys, that's adorable. It's in Rancho.
Oh,
yeah.
You should get it.
Well, I'm actually talking with John Arns because I would get it, but I don't really have a place to put it at the moment.
On your roof?
No, it's like a 50, 60 foot tower, 50 feet, something like that.
Nobody would really notice if you put it across the street from your house.
That is true, but then I got to run coax underneath the street.
Yeah.
Anyways, I might be picking it up.
Nice. Does it break down or is it like 60 feet long?
You have to break it down. Yeah.
Okay.
It's 5 or 6, 8.5, 9 feet sections.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm only imagining what you're going to do to that thing.
I don't know yet. Yeah, I don't know. Where I was talking with John Arns about using it for a radio project on the Rubicon. And he's interested, but he has storage at his property where he has got a couple little tower sections and whatnot to store it until we decide what we want to do with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
or put it on Fordyce and start that project.
If we ever get clearance from Tahoe National Forest.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've given up trying to push that topic because they don't seem to be very receptive of it. And I don't have time to push it harder. So
got it. Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Today we're going to be discussing snow recovery.
Yes, sir.
And how to prep or how to think about what you might need for going out on a crazy adventure like we might be doing.
We might be doing. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, obviously, I don't know, maybe not obviously, maybe people don't know if you're new to the show, but I am one of the 3 owners of NorCal 4x4 Rescue. And so we now have 28,000 people in the group. And it's essentially a volunteer vehicle recovery group for Northern California.
Right.
And the whole premise is if you get stuck off-roading somewhere and you can't get back and no tow truck will come and get you because they don't go off pavement, you can make a post on the Facebook page. And since we've got 20,000 people spread out all over NorCal, usually we can have somebody responding to say that they'll come out within 20 to 30 minutes. And we can usually have somebody on scene within about an hour and a half.
Wow. That's really impressive.
It is. We beat AAA times.
Every time that I look on that page or it pops up in the feed, I go, oh, there's a recovery. And then I scroll down and I go, oh, it's already done.
Yeah. Yeah.
Dang it.
Yeah. We're pretty surprisingly efficient for being a completely volunteer group.
Right.
Nobody gets paid for what they do. It's all for just going out, and people like me and you, and we love going out and playing off-roading and playing with recovery rigging.
Yep.
You know, what better opportunity to go play with them than actually recover people?
Yeah, exactly.
So during the winter time, though, here in Northern California, California is a beautiful, beautiful topography where 80% of the year, there's like no snow. But 20% of the year, the Sierras get dumped on. And people don't know how to drive in it, don't know how to go up into the snow for the day. They don't know how to be prepared. And so bad things happen. The people are not prepared, and we get called out to go get their vehicles and get them out sometimes.
Yep. I did receive a bunch of videos being sent to me of Tacomas pulling out Subarus in the last snow bash that we got here a few weeks ago.
Yep. You know, we're recording a little bit ahead of schedule from when this episode's going to release, but they're expecting to get like 5 to 6 feet of snow this weekend, which is yesterday and the day before from when this episode's being released. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that impacts everything. The snow winter recreation is going to be on full tilt, I think, from here on out. I don't think that it's going to melt and go away. I think we're going to keep snow from here until it melts in the springtime.
Okay.
Which will be fantastic for winter recreation.
Yeah.
It's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be setting up to be a good year for winter recreation. The problem, though, is that not everybody goes out prepared.
No, not at all.
There's one in particular, which is kind of where this episode is stemming from. There was a guy who went out just after the first storm we got of the season. And in an XJ, late 80s XJ, so Dana 30 front axle, Dana 35 rear axle, he had some issues and broke a lot of things on the rig and left the rig out there.
Yep.
And it's been out there now about 2 months, a month and a half. And
that long?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I saw a post somewhere. I think it was on the Rubicon trail page. Somebody's like, hey, does anybody know what's up with this Jeep that's stopped off by the side over by winter camp? Yep. And then a bunch of people said, yeah, I saw that. And they're like stating the dates of when they saw it.
Yeah.
And I did know that it had been out there a little while, but I did not imagine it's been out there a month and a half.
Yeah, it's been out there a while. So it's been out there a while, has a lot of repairs that need to be done. And the owner just unfortunately went a little unprepared, whether it be knowledge or spare parts or abilities to make repairs on the trail, and left the rig out there and doesn't have the skills, abilities, knowledge, whatever, to go get the rig now that there's a snow all over the trail. Rubicon Trail Foundation had sent some people out to take a look at the rig, kind of get a repair list together for the rig. And then the topic came up amongst the NorCal 4x4 Rescue admin group about what's going on with that Jeep, if it was gone yet. And so I reached out to the owner, and it was still there, and it didn't sound like he was too anxious to get it out of there.
No.
And he said that he's kind of willing to let it sit up there for the winter, and he'll just get out in the spring. I'm like, you're not going to have a vehicle if you do that.
The amount of snow and the amount of weight on top of that vehicle is just going to crush it.
Yeah. And if you need any evidence of that, go look up Glacier Girl Jeep on Google, and you'll see how much damage was done to the XJs that got buried up near Tahoma, the east end of the trail. So a few years back. But anyways, so yeah, I was trying to tell this guy, you're not going to have a vehicle. Like, leaving it up there, A, is not an option if you want to have a vehicle again. And B, it's not an option because you're knowingly dumping a vehicle
right
in the middle of the Rubicon Trail, which already gets a lot of scrutiny because it's arguably the most popular trail in the world. And we don't need the trail getting shut down because there's a biohazard issue out there with people dumping a vehicle.
Sure.
So I'm like, we need to get the rig out of there. You know, I'm willing to go up and spend my time free of charge, do the welding free of charge, get it off the trail, but you need to get together spare parts. So he finally got together spare parts, and we're looking at trying to go and get it out of here. We were trying to go before this storm came in this last weekend, but we just weren't able to get the stars aligned and get my drive chain back together. And so we're trying to see if we can go out on Wednesday, and we'll see just how much snow dumped from the storm. But in kind of getting ready for taking on getting the rig off the trail, it's brought up an interesting topic, a talking point here that we thought we can cover on the podcast. You know, what do you need to do in order to prepare for maybe not something to this scale, because there's a lot of shit that needs to get done to that Jeep.
Sure.
But, you know, what are some things to consider if you're looking at having to go up and do a snow recovery? So,
okay. Yeah. I think this is a good list or a good idea of a topic to cover, because I'm sure, you know, it's becoming winter here in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah.
And a lot of people like to go play in the snow. And the question really comes down to like, okay, my buddy's stuck. What do I need to do to prepare to go and recover this guy or gal or vehicle? And I think that's kind of what we're covering today. To some extent, I think we're both going to be thinking about it as we're going to have to go recover the Jeep out on the Rubicon. And maybe it's not covered in snow, but it would be like as is today. So that's how we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about like the extreme worst case.
Yeah.
Which this is pretty close to it.
Yeah, it is.
Okay. Yep. I'll start off with the easy and obvious one. To me is you got to prepare for the worst. You have 100%. To prepare yourself to possibly be stuck overnight. And so not only do you have to be concerned about the recovery equipment, but you have to be concerned about food and hydration and appropriate cold weather gear to be stuck out somewhere overnight in the snow, which it gets very cold out there.
It does. Yeah.
So I'll go with the tire side of things. Not a tire, the tire.
A tire.
You know, you just have to be prepared, you know, with don't wear cottons, don't wear, you know, things that really want to absorb water, you want to be wearing like synthetics or wool or silk. Wool and silk, I've said it before, wool and silk are the only natural fibers that will still keep you warm once they get wet. So you want to be prepared, during the day, you might be able to get away with, some snow pants and t-shirt, bring some sunscreen if that's the case.
Yeah.
But, once the sun goes down, man, it gets cold fast.
It gets very cold very quickly. Yeah.
And you're going to need to layer up. I would bring, down jackets or, synthetic puffies of some sort, like sweaters that are wool, a shell. You want to have as many layers on you as you can to keep yourself as warm as possible.
Yeah.
Wear some big, heavy boots, wool socks. A lot of times if I'm out moving around, all I need is a thin pair of waterproof pants. But once the sun goes down, I'm probably going to want at least long johns, if not a mid layer in there. And especially if you're at the point where no more work is going to get done and it's not bedtime yet, you're not doing anything. You're just sort of sitting around, and then your body's not creating a whole bunch more warmth. So it just gets colder. Yep. So you need a bunch of layers. Yep. And whenever I did any snow camping, it was always a base layer, like long johns, and then a mid layer, something like a puffy coat or a wool sweater, or maybe some wool pants, and then a shell of some sort with an outer shell for the water protection, for both pants and a jacket, and a hood and a beanie to keep your head cold, because I don't know if it's true, but I've heard 70% of your heat is lost through your head. I'm not sure if that's a true fact or whatnot.
A lot of it is. Yeah.
A lot of it is. And then definitely wool socks and probably multiple pairs.
Yep. Yeah. The big thing for me when it comes to clothing and preparing for, what are you going to wear out to a snow recovery? The most important thing to me in recovery situations are my hands and feet and head. Really. Your core
I didn't mention anything about gloves. Yeah, you're right.
As our bodies get cold, they will retract blood flow from your limbs first
100%,
and keep as much blood flow in your core as possible. So as soon as you start getting cold, you need to have extra layers to help protect and keep your limbs functioning.
Right. If your fingers are cold, that means you're cold.
Yep. And we as human beings, if our limbs stop functioning, we don't do anything. We stop functioning. Like we can't move a shovel. We can't walk around. We can't cook dinner because we can't use our fingers and our hands. So we are extremely dependent on feet and hands for being a human being.
Sure. Yeah.
And so what I do, I have a pretty hefty weatherproof 0-degree boots, like they're rated for cold weather boots. And I always pair those with smart wool socks.
The big thick ones?
The big thick ones.
Yeah.
And gaiters.
Okay. Ooh, gaiters are a great suggestion.
And so anytime I look at going out in the snow, my feet are my number one priority, more than my hands.
Yeah, those are the closest thing to the snow there
exactly.
is.
They're going to be in everything. So I will literally make my, almost like you're think of it like going out fishing in waders.
Yeah.
You want to keep everything out of the water from getting wet at all. Same thing when you're going snow and snow recoveries. So I wear big weatherproof, waterproof boots, thick wool socks, and gaiters to keep any snow or water at all from getting in the top of the boot.
Yeah. So for those that don't know what gaiters are, I was trying to think of how to describe this. It's kind of hard to suggest or give the visual of. It's like a small jacket for your calf.
Kind of, yeah.
That typically has Velcro or a zipper along the entire length so that you can, and then it has a strap that kind of goes around your heel. And so you can step into this thing after everything's on, and then you kind of close it around your calf and your leg and your boot.
Yep.
And what the main purpose of it is to not let snow get into your boot.
Yes.
And down into your feet and keeping it that as dry as possible. And they've been around forever and a day. You've seen pictures of people wearing them up on Everest or something. You know, you're just like, what do those guys have puffy pants under their thigh? And then everything's really tight around their calf. That's because they're wearing gaiters.
Reverse bell bottoms is what those are.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So gaiters are if I'm ever going out in the snow, I invest in decently good pairs of gaiters. And those are and good boots, like good winter boots, good gaiters. And then like my pants that I wear, I don't want to say a shitty pair, but they're a low quality pair of snow pants.
Okay.
Like they're just there as the water repellent layer shell for my legs.
Yeah. And to some extent, I mean, that's not the best, but you're so protected up to your knee, you're fine. And then, so you have your thigh showing and then you have a jacket over it, right? So you have that just a small section of you that is not as water repellent as possible, but it's a lot less because you have already done some protection down below. Yeah. And the chances are if you're doing a snow recovery, you're going to be walking through snow a lot. Sure. With setting up recovery equipment, whether you're having to do repairs, crawl under a rig to shovel it. Like there's a lot of things where in snow recoveries, you're just in deep snow in your feet or on your knees in the snow a lot. I make sure that those are covered up. There's no way they're going to get wet or cold. And that's like my main priority when I think about going out in the snow. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Do you go as far as packing overnight camping gear? On big recoveries, like if I'm going out specifically to dig somebody out, if somebody's car has been out there for multiple days, then I will. Because you don't know exactly how long it's going to take to dig that car out, unless I got pictures to you and you know exactly the situation. But I'll pack a sleeping bag, extra pairs of clothes, multiple pairs of dry socks. I'll pack 2 to 3 pairs per day of socks that I'm planning on being out. So I do that on days where it's just like, hey, yeah, we were out, wheeling for the afternoon and we just got stuck this afternoon. We just need someone to come up and give us a tug. Then I probably won't pack an overnight camping setup. Right. But for this trip coming up to get that X-Ray off the Rubicon, I'm packing an overnight setup. Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And that not only is a good sleeping bag, maybe a tent. You do probably have your vehicle to sleep in, but you can always bring a tent along with you. Sleeping in the snow, you need a very good thermarest or padding underneath you to hold you off of the snow and keep that coldness down and the warmth up. Those stupid, cheap blue foam pads are like R9 value. They're so high. They weigh nothing. They just take up a lot of space. And if you don't have anything, just go get one of those blue foam pads because they do phenomenal. I sometimes carry those with me just to sit on when I park in the snow because your butt's going to get cold regardless, but it gets a lot less cold when you have that foam pad down. Yeah. Or if you have some more fancy gear, you can definitely bring the fancier gear and thermarests and everything. But and then that, kind of since we are talking about overnight camping at this point, you do need to prepare yourself for food. 100%. Yep. So you need plan for 24 to 48 hours longer than what you are planning to be out there. Yeah. That's a great way to put it. So, we're going to drive out in the morning and we might come back in the afternoon. I'm only going to bring lunch and dinner. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. No. Well, what happens if you're stuck a whole nother day? What happens if a snowstorm comes in and you have to stay another day or two out there just to working on getting yourself out? So yeah, definitely prepare yourself for, water and food and other beverages. If you want water, if you're bringing a stove and you're in the snow, you don't have to concern yourself too much with water. Yeah. But it's, always good to have some on hand. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Going back to clothing a little bit, I essentially plan on wearing a snowmobile setup. So have a face mask as well that can, if it drops really cold or you got a wind chill going on, you can hide your face from wind kind of thing. And then when it comes to, camping, snow camping, you need warmth, right? And if you're going into the snow, chances are it's going to get below freezing at nighttime. So you need to be prepared for that and make sure you have a good 0 degree bag or lower. So yeah, like Jimmy said, you need obviously insulation from the ground. We don't do well laying directly on snow.
or anything cold or wet. So I personally love my cot and thermarest setup.
Yeah.
And in the snow, it works even better than during summertime. So it just gets you off of the snow, and then the thermarest acts as that R value, that insulation value, to keep underneath you warm when you're condensing all the stuffing in your sleeping bag.
Sure. 100%. Yeah. And if it's a nasty weather out there, maybe you're in your rig, but you also need to consider like a summer camping tent is probably not going to hold up to winter weather.
Probably not. Yeah.
They have seasoned ratings on a lot of tents, with 2 seasons being, like spring and summer, 3 seasons being, a good rainy season, and spring and summer, fall, and then they have 4 seasons, which include like crazy winter weather.
Yeah.
And I have a 4-season 3-person tent, and there's like a window in it, and it's like a 4x4x4 triangle. That's it. That's the only window, the only thing to see to the outside and that's it. It's just because a window or any opening is an opportunity to let more cold weather in. Yeah. And so, 4-season tents are legit. I've been up on Shasta at Helen's Lake at like 10,200 feet or whatever it is. Nice. And my tent, I anchored down my tent, set it all up, and my tent was barely flapping in the wind. It was a gnarly storm. And my buddy Joe, who you knew, Tyler, he had a pretty legit 3-season tent. And we built this berm like halfway up his tent in snow. And his whole entire tent was still like like leaning to the side whenever wind hit. Jeez. Yeah. So a good tent, I mean, it can go a long, long ways.
Yes, it can.
If you've got the opportunity to have one.
Yeah, for sure. Along with, and kind of going, definitely going along with camping and planning for overnight stay on your recovery, you absolutely need to know what weather is going on.
That's a good point.
And plan around the weather. The weather is not going to change for you. No recovery is worth somebody putting their lives at risk to go get a vehicle. So if there's a big storm coming in, put the recovery off for a week. Yeah. If all the stars are not aligning, don't risk it.
And that's what we might be doing for this Jeep recovery coming up.
Yeah.
We're a little in the future here, but we have a big storm coming this weekend. And, we're looking at in the next few days going out to, go get the recovery, and it's supposed to, drop a few feet of snow, and it might not be, we'll need to look at the weather for the rest of the week, maybe the 10-day forecast, see if we can hold it off for a week and let the snow, melt a little bit to make life a little easier on us. Or we might just have to fit in that perfect window to try and go out to do the recovery.
Yeah. And in order to kind of look at accurate weather patterns and see what the accurate conditions are at that location, what snow depths look like. We talked a little bit about it on a previous episode, but there's an app. Well, there's not an app. It's a weather network called Open Snow.
Yeah. We talked about it on the Christmas items list for Gaia.
For Gaia.
Right?
Okay. That's what it was on. I couldn't remember the name of the network that they drew the data from. It's the Open Snow Network. But literally I'm sitting here with Gaia open on my phone as I'm talking, and I hit up in the Rubicon just north of the trail by a couple miles maybe. I could just hit the trail, but I didn't want the trail thing to come up. But it shows me that currently it's 35 degrees. Wind is west-southwest, 4 to 9 miles an hour, 0% precipitation. Afternoon's going to be 35 degrees. Tuesday has a high and low of 37.23 with 0% chance. Wednesday, 33.25. Thursday, 28 degree high, 19 degree low, 100% chance of wind or snow, and wind southwest 20 to 38 miles an hour. And that's being able to have that information, know what the forecast is, and be able to plan and know that Thursday is looking pretty bad. Don't go up Wednesday if you can avoid it. Or at least have like a bingo time and be like, okay, we're not getting the rig done by 3-4 p.m. We need to get ourselves out of here now and leave the rig and come back another day.
Yeah. I think setting plans like that might be step 1.
100%.
Look at the weather, figure it out, you know, set yourself a bingo time, you know, or a checkpoint time with anybody else out there. And then you have to stick to your plan.
You have to. Yep.
And then it comes down to, okay, now I need to start packing. I need clothes. I need camping gear. I need food, and I need recovery equipment.
Yep.
So, I mean, in a snow recovery, a lot of times you're probably need multiple levels of recovery equipment, because we sort of talked about it on another episode where, and I forgot who said it, but somebody said that the fact that if you're stuck in, I think it was the Factor 55 episode with Justin.
Could be.
Where if you're stuck in snow, sand, or mud, there's a suction
100%.
factor to trying to pull somebody out, and your working load's like double or triple.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just hooking somebody up to a line and pulling them out is extremely more difficult if you're in sand, snow, or mud.
Yep. 100%. And the big thing with, I mean, obviously mud has suction. There's a lot of suction in mud. Sand has, it just nothing really packs in. It always is moving out of the way. Right. Whereas snow, you can get yourself dug down where there's not really any suction, but you get an icy layer typically on top of snow. And once axles dig into that, or belly, skid plates, frame rail, whatever it is, if something digs down into that, you're not moving the rig forward and backwards until you dig out the snow first.
Right.
Yeah. That's the next step, in my opinion. Once you kind of have, you know what the weather's like, you have a planned day to go. The next step is to figure out what kind of situation is that vehicle in. Does it need repairs, or is it just, did it lose traction and dig itself down? The owner forgot to bring a shovel with him that day.
Okay.
Which is honestly, that's 80%, 90% of snow recoveries.
Yeah. Air down, shovel, and out they go.
And you're good to go for a lot of snow situations. But there's other situations like the extreme ones where people break axle shafts, or there was a guy up on Mormon Emigrant, I think last week, that blew a ball joint.
Oh, okay.
And he had to replace a ball joint there in the middle of the snow on the Mormon Emigrant a couple days later. So, you know, are any repairs needed? And if a repair is needed, you need to make sure that you have plan A, B, and C to get those repairs done. Never go up with one plan in a snow recovery situation and assume that one plan's going to work.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. It very rarely does work out that way. If it does work out that way, awesome. You are super happy.
Stick to plan A.
Yep, stick to plan A, but always have, you know, 3 backup plans for whatever you're planning to do to go up there and get this vehicle back up and running. Obviously, if you can get a vehicle running under its own power, that is far, far better than having to tow it out dead weight. And then, you know, if you have to tow it out dead weight, see if you can at least get the wheels turning.
Yeah.
So rather than just dragging it.
Yeah, that would be, that'd be impossible. I just imagine the amount of snow berms you're going to have to clear.
Oh yeah, it'd be terrible. It'd be horrendous. Those kind of become my next priorities is, A, can we get the vehicle fully up running under its own power? It doesn't need to run perfect. It doesn't need to run great. It doesn't need to be street driven, roadworthy.
Yeah.
You just need it to be running under its own power. If it can do that, awesome. If you can't, then the next thing is get it rolling under somebody else's power. So be able to tow it out, push it out, whatever it is. As long as you can get the vehicle rolling, that's the next thing. And then the worst case scenario is you just dragging a dead vehicle out.
Yeah. You'd make a sled somehow.
you have to, yeah.
Jeez.
You have to build a sled somehow to get the vehicle out of there. So those are worst case scenarios. I would almost never, ever resort to that in the snow, dragging a completely dead, non-rolling vehicle out. I would rather just make multiple trips up to get it rolling again, bare minimum. So that would be the next step, in my opinion, is figure out what the vehicle needs.
Okay.
Most of the time, like I said, you just need to dig out the axles more, dig out the belly of the vehicle so it's not being held up in the snow. A big, big thing to remember is typically when vehicles get stuck in the first place, their undersides and the engine bays and everything, they're pretty warm usually. So if they high center in the snow and they melt that snow, because they're warm. And then the night comes around, the vehicle spends a night out in the snow. All of that becomes a giant ice block, gluing that vehicle down in the snow.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that. So it literally is attached to the snow.
Yep. And you could dig out the snow and have ice chunks hanging from the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
So being able to disconnect the vehicle from the snow becomes a big priority in snow recoveries. And usually you can get on it right away and you can just shovel things out. But every once in a while, and something to keep in mind is that it will ice block itself to the snow, to whatever trail you're on. So be prepared for that. I like to bring a big old flat snow shovel that can move a lot of snow at once. And I also like to bring, essentially it's like an avalanche shovel that just packs down. It works for 90% of any of the shoveling you need to do. But you also need to plan on bringing some sort of ice pick, hatchet, something to break ice off if you need to.
Okay. Yeah. So would an axe, or, you said a hatchet, but is there a restriction on like length, I guess?
I find that digging yourself a little trench so you can roll and get underneath the vehicle and beat the ice chunks off with a hatchet is a lot easier to maneuver than a full-size axe trying to get into it. So either that or bringing like a 3-pound drill hammer and a punch of some kind, a beefy punch. That works really well for chiseling away some ice chunks as well. So there's different ways to do it. The key thing is have a way to do it.
Yeah.
So,
okay. Sounds good. So I definitely want to mimic a shovel is probably one of the most needed tools out there when you're 100%. Doing a snow recovery.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of different types of tools. Or shovels. Would you stay away from metal shovels? Would you just bring plastic ones, or do you?
No, I would actually go more towards, you mean like the actual spade part of the shovel or the handle?
Yeah, the spade part.
The spade part of the shovel, I would use metal.
You would?
In snow. Because you never know if you're going to go down and especially on a trail, if you're on a designated trail where vehicles do go through, parts of those trails could be compacted and packed in from other people traveling them.
Okay.
And so you need to have a metal spade in order to get through some of that chunks of ice in the snow and trail itself.
Is there ever a concern about the spade freezing and snow sticking to it?
No, not really.
That hasn't been an issue.
No, you can typically just every once in a while, if you see snow starting to stick to it, just take your boot and
wipe it off,
kick it off. Yeah.
Kick the headphone wire while you're at it.
While I'm at it. Yeah. Snap the headphone wire.
All right,
here.
Cool. And there are snow shovels,
100%,
and they're big and massive and, made to move a lot of snow at once. And that might be good for starting, but then you kind of get down into the more of the technical digging, and making sure that you're just not colliding everything underneath the vehicle.
Ripping brake lines out while you're shoveling underneath the vehicle. Yeah.
I think, a snow shovel, some sort of spade or flat shovel, and then maybe some like a smaller shovel, something that's like, what'd you call it? An avalanche shovel.
Yep.
Something that packs down really small, or only, once you fully assemble, it's like 2 feet long with not a large spade or head on the shoveling mechanism on the front, because you're going to be under the vehicle at some point.
Yep.
And it's going to be a little unwieldy to use a full size shovel underneath the vehicle. So you need different sizes to help you out with removing the snow.
Yeah. Once you're under the vehicle using those smaller shovels, they're really not for digging snow out. They're really for digging snow out from around parts of the vehicle, like out from around the axles, out from around the wheels and tires. You're not looking to move a lot of snow. You're looking to move snow out of precise locations, technical locations. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
All right. So after you got the snow cleared off, how are you going to set up, or what are you considering setting up for recovery gear? Do you think we could just, just what, kinetic or static strap? Is there an advantage?
Kinetic, definitely in snow. You want to use more kinetics than statics. And so I would like to differentiate the two different situations, right? One is the vehicle moves under its own power. You can get the vehicle started, the drivetrain operates, and you got the underside of the vehicle clear from snow, any obstructions from snow, ice, debris, whatever it is. And you just need to get it pop up out of its hole and keep it moving until you get it back on the trail or the track that you've created. Typically, while somebody is shoveling out the vehicle, the other person in the recovery vehicle can be maneuvering the recovery vehicle to pack down the snow and create kind of like a landing pad area that you can use for staging recovery equipment, that you can plan on once you do snatch the vehicle out of its hole, that it gets up into this landing pad area. The key thing there is that, you create a packed in area that's kind of a safe location for the vehicles.
Okay.
And so once you have that all down, then if the vehicle can start and run under its own power, then just put a kinetic strap on it and give it a nice tug and see what happens. Just be careful though, because if you don't have all the ice blocks broken and it's still glued to the snow, that vehicle's not going to go anywhere, and you have an extreme risk of snapping kinetic straps and damage happening big time. So just make sure that everything is clear. The whole underbelly of the stuck vehicle is clear, and there's not going to be anything holding it up, right?
Okay.
Once you get that, snatch them out, see what happens. Sometimes you have to dig out a bunch of the snow in front of the vehicle so that you kind of build a big ramp kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So you got that too as well. If the vehicle doesn't start, then you want to get them winched out of the hole and onto the landing pad area that you've created, right? The safe zone. You don't want to snatch a non-operating vehicle. So if that happens, then you're looking at getting yourself and winching the vehicle. Hopefully it rolls and you're not just dragging it. However, the nice thing about snow is that if you are able to clear the underside of the vehicle, you can drag vehicles fairly well with a winch in the snow, as long as you have a ramp built for it and it's not just loose powder you're trying to pull them through and it's creating this berm and dam as you're pulling the vehicle. But you also need the winching vehicle anchored somehow. And so as long as they're anchored and you're able to, get this vehicle winching up a ramp, sometimes you actually can pull it, just dead dragging it with a winch. And it's not that bad on equipment. It's when they start digging down into the snow and you're pulling a berm of snow in front of the vehicle that it's bad.
Yeah. One thing I just thought of was if you can get the vehicle started, you should make sure that you clean out where the exhaust goes.
Yes, that's a really good point. Yeah.
If it's not cleaned out there, then it's probably getting trapped under the vehicle. Mm-hmm. And then if you're working under the vehicle, now you're just breathing in all these fumes. If you are able to start the vehicle, make sure that, and the snow is up high enough, make sure to clean out that underside wherever the exhaust comes out.
Yep. Give the exhaust a place to vent.
Yes,
for sure. That's a really good point. Yeah. Once you've got the vehicle up into your landing pad area, there's different ways to do that with a winch. Obviously there's a straight pull. I would recommend using a mechanical advantage, using a pulley in there. So you get a 2-to-1 pull. That way you're putting less stress on your equipment, at least on your winches. Make sure you anchor your vehicle somehow. You can either anchor it to another vehicle. You can anchor it to a tree. You can, if you're really crafty, you can actually dig a hole and put a high lift down in the hole with a spare tire or something. And that acts like a really good anchor. There's
like a dead man.
Exactly. Yep. If you have a dead man off-road, one of those things, you can put that down in the snow and have it be a great anchor too. So there's different ways to build anchor points if you don't have an opportune anchor point available. Sure. Mm-hmm. So get creative that way. And the key is to get that vehicle back up onto the landing pad there. Once you have it on the landing pad, then it's a matter of looking over the vehicle, making sure it's okay to drive out of the trail. And the big thing to look at, obviously, is you need brakes and you need forward movement, drivetrain ability, right?
That's the start.
Yeah.
Right? Because you need steering.
Yeah. Yeah, true.
I mean, first you need start and go.
Yeah.
Or start and go. Start and stop.
Stop and go, yeah.
And then I think it comes, then you need to be able to steer.
Yeah, somehow. One thing that I've noticed if you're having to tow a vehicle through the snow, try your best to get center point to center point on the bumpers of the vehicles. Because if you have a recovery point that is off to the side of the center point, then it's going to pull the vehicle to that side. That means to that side of your vehicle, right? And if you're doing that, then you are always constantly pulling that vehicle outside of your tracks that you're creating, which just pushes them off into snow berms on the side of the trail, outside of the snow tracks, and that you're that there's the easy place to travel. And there's really not a whole lot that the driver can do that's driving the recovered vehicle.
Yeah, because it's just being pulled in a direction that they can't control because it's slipping.
Because snow is slippery. Yep. So definitely anytime that you're towing a vehicle, try and get center point to center point. Bare minimum. It takes a lot of frustrations out on the recovered vehicle trying to stay in the tracks. I've seen so many people towing people off of side loaded recovery points. And I'm like, you're just making life difficult. Don't do that.
Is that a good reason or a good time to have one of those hitch receiver D-links?
Absolutely. Yeah, those are great. I carry 2 to 3 of them during wintertime. I usually only carry 1 during summer, but during winter and snow season, I'll carry 2 to 3 of them at all times.
I've always wondered what's the point of that when I have other anchor points on the vehicle, but that makes a lot more sense now for winter to have one of those. And there's a lot of company, Factor 55 and, you know, other companies out there that sell these just, you know, I think one of the things, if you haven't listened to the Factor 55 episode where we talk about working load limits, then go listen to that because a lot of that comes into play, especially in snow wheeling.
Yeah, I agree 100%. The snow wheeling, there can be very easy, simple forces on your recovery equipment, and there can be very extreme, risky forces put on your recovery equipment. So you need to know the working load limits and the minimum braking strengths of your recovery equipment in snow recovery situations. Another kind of tip for dragging people or towing people out of snow trails, if they have a recovery point front and center on their rig, use it. If they don't, and the driver is just having too difficult of a time keeping the vehicle in the tracks, then turn them around backwards because most vehicles will have a receiver hitch on the rear bumper.
What about using like a tree strap and connecting it to the 2 other points and then making a V?
Yep, you can do that, or you can do a triangulated auto. So what is that called? A self-balancing line, essentially. And it's created by essentially creating a triangle with your tow strap so that it automatically will keep the vehicle in line with the 2 tow points that you have connected to.
So if you're backed up close to them, pretty much what you're saying is like you could use a tow strap and run it from one of his points that's on like the driver's side to your vehicle and then back to his on the passenger side, making it a triangle.
Yeah, you could do it that way. A lot of times the triangle is going to want to try and stay centered on the single side. And so if you have his vehicle as the 2 side of the triangle, it's going to want to end up moving around according to the center point of the other one. Whereas if you flip that around, so put it through your 2 recovery points, put it on his 1 recovery point, that'll help keep him in line more with your 2 recovery points.
Got it. Okay. Yep. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yep. Doing it that way works out really well. We did that all the time with rafting, towing boats behind jet skis in whitewater rafting.
Okay.
Yeah. What are some other tips that you can do for planning for snow recoveries? Yeah, preparing your meals, food, water. Don't sweat. That's another big one.
Sure.
Yeah, it's very easy while you're shoveling snow to get sweating quickly. And you want to avoid that in snow conditions. If you know that it's a beautiful, gorgeous day and you've got 8 more hours of sunlight, okay, maybe you can sweat a little bit. But if you're getting into the afternoon and the sun is starting to go down, it's shorter winter days, you want to avoid sweating at all costs, because if you're going to be looking at staying there anywhere into sundown, it's going to get cold very quickly, and sweat on your body is going to get you into hypothermic conditions way, 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 way quicker than if you can stay dry.
Yeah.
And sweat,
pretty much you're wet at that point.
Exactly.
And that moisture wicks off really quick in the sunlight and when it's warm. But it's like if you have a wet towel out during the sun, it'll dry. But if you have the wet towel out overnight, it's going to stay wet all night long. So so you'll stay wet that entire time.
Yep. It's really, really bad. Our bodies are not adept at staying warm in wet conditions as human beings. I forget the exact numbers on it, but I want to say like if you're wet, you lose body heat through that moisture 7 times quicker than if you're dry.
Wow.
And if you're in moving water, it goes through almost 40 times quicker. You lose body heat.
Oh, I'm sure.
And that's why, in swiftwater rescue situations, you need to get the person at risk out of that situation as quickly as possible because they're going to get hypothermic quick because it's moving water. And so the same theory applies. You're not going to get in moving snow kind of thing, but you will need to stay dry. If you're not staying dry, you're going to be hurting for body warmth.
Sure. But if you're sweating and it's windy, I mean, now you're up there. It's just even more. Yep. So what I want to go down a list of some of the equipment that you might consider bringing out on a recovery. Do you just you have a ton of recovery equipment. I do. You have a lot. You have more. You have enough for like 3 normal people. Do you pack absolutely everything for like a recovery, or do you pick and choose, or do you?
For a known recovery, if I'm going out to recover a vehicle, that's the sole reason why I will pack everything.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And do you have one of everything that Factor 55 makes?
For the most part. I've got 2 kinetic straps, 2 static straps, a big tree saver, which you can use the static straps as tree savers. I've got 4 pulleys I bring along. 2 of them are donuts. 2 of them are regular pulleys, snatch block kind. I've got 7 or 8 soft shackles. And then I have like another 8 to 10 hard shackles, like metal bow shackles. I've got winch line extensions, which are another very useful thing in snow because, like I said, you don't always get opportune anchor moments. But if you have an extra 300 feet of winch line, hopefully you get a lot more opportunities for anchor points. Doing that. Mm-hmm. And you also have a lot more opportunity to set up mechanical advantage scenarios. If you have a lot more recovery line, winch line available, I'll have shovels. I'll bring 3 different shovels to if I'm going out to a specific recovery. And then from there, it really just depends on, I have infinity loops too. Yeah. Those are really, really helpful, especially if you're going out on recovery with people who don't have rated recovery points. So you're going out to get a Subaru out, right? Infinity loops are awesome for getting sedans, Subarus, Priuses out of stuck situations where they shouldn't have been out in the snow in the first place, kind of thing. So infinity loops are awesome. Yeah. So that I have, there's probably more stuff I'm forgetting, but from there, then it's a matter of what kind of repairs need to be done to the vehicle.
Right.
So what tools do I need? My full toolkit? I'll probably bring it anyways because it's the Forerunner. Yeah. I need to have him. But do I need the welding equipment too? I don't know. With this particular recovery, we need welding equipment. Yeah. Out on the Rubicon. So I'm bringing all the welding equipment, a lot of spare metal, all the recovery equipment. I'm bringing overnight camping stuff. I'm bringing multiple changes of clothes. Tarps are a good one too. Tarps are interesting because you forget how long you're laying on a tarp in the snow because you're still staying cold, but you're not getting wet from the snow. And you're not risking getting snow coming down your jacket as you're moving around, crawling around under a vehicle. So tarps are great for that situation. They keep the snow out of your clothes, but they're not insulated at all. So you kind of need to remember that tarps are great, but they're not going to insulate you from you're still going to get cold being on a tarp, which is why those little blue pads, they're great. If you're going to have to be working on a vehicle in the snow, those little blue pads on top of a tarp, money. Oh yeah. Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. But a tarp can also be used as a shelter. 100%. Right. If it does start snowing, you can lash it to the vehicle and create a little safe haven so you can continue to work without being snowed on. That's a great point. That tarps are quite useful in many different ways, from even making a lean-to sort of sleep area, if worst case scenario, to some shelter over the work area, to laying on under the rig so you're not getting drenched. Tarps are definitely a very useful item. Yeah. I did think of another thing that should really, really be talked about. Okay. I got one more too. Okay. Mine comes from, you need to have some sort of communications with the outside world.
Okay.
So ham radio is my big choice for that. If you have a Garmin InReach, those are also amazing choices for that. There's a new feature though that just got launched on iPhones.
Oh, the SOS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So iPhone 14 users can send an emergency signal via satellites if you don't have cell service. So if the
That's so awesome.
It's such a fucking cool move from Apple.
Yeah.
I hate Apple.
Me too.
I hate them with a passion. But that alone right there is a reason that I would consider switching or telling other people to switch to Apple.
Yeah. How does that fucking cell phone go to space?
Right? How does it have enough power on the transmitter
to make it to
get
space?
to a satellite signal?
That's insane.
That's crazy.
Like it's crazy to think that it goes hits an antenna that's a few hundred miles away, you know, but if it can go to space,
yeah,
maybe space is, I mean, how far? I don't even know how far out space is. Maybe it is less than 100 miles to like, if it has to travel 100 miles to get to another antenna, maybe it's not so crazy to think that it can go 100 miles straight up.
I mean, it wouldn't be, especially for microwave. And that's what cell phones run on a lot of times is microwave frequencies. So yeah, microwave frequencies go 100 miles easy. Super simple.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't know what. So the iPhone system that it's tapped into, I forget the network name of it, but there's 24 satellites that orbit Earth for that satellite comms emergency usage.
All right. Brian just got back to me.
Wow. Look at Brian go.
No, he's on it. 62 miles.
That's it.
62 miles up is space.
Wow.
Yeah.
That
and
makes
then
a lot of sense.
I don't know how
then,
far out a satellite is or if it's another mile or
how
so.
far outside of that space limit it is.
Yeah.
That's a good question. For microwave frequencies, that's super doable. That's very easily doable. So
I'm going to butcher a word in here, but
nice.
A common definition of space is known as Kármán line. Karman. Kármán line.
Kármán line.
It's an imaginary boundary, 100 kilometers, 62 miles above sea level.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. That makes a lot more sense then. We think of space as being like really fucking far out there. It's only 62 miles.
I know. It's
All
less distance from Sacramento to San Francisco.
Yeah. That's crazy. Which that makes sense. I can get a ham radio signal in San Francisco, no problem. So
yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that's freaking cool. But yeah, kudos to Apple for doing that. And they're giving all the iPhone 14 users 2 years free
SOS
service.
That's pretty sweet.
So huge kudos to Apple for doing that. I think that's really rad. They have it set up so that you can send a message, and if it comes into that communication network, it will automatically get that information and data sent to your nearest local search and rescue organization.
Oh, cool.
So that's really cool. And they also have it set up where they can send it to whoever your emergency contacts are in your emergency contact list. Having communication with the outside world, if you have an iPhone 14, it's now built into your phone, which is pretty rad. If you don't have an iPhone 14, you're a peasant like us, then look into ham radio, Garmin InReach. Spot. Bots are not as great of a satellite network. Garmin definitely has a more extensive satellite network, but Spots still work. Avalanche beacons are great just to send out that SOS and a breadcrumb trail a lot of times. You know, I was out on doing a recovery out on Mormon Immigrant Trail, and it took us a while. We started early in the day and it was okay weather. When we got into nighttime, we were getting 60, 70 mile an hour sideways snow on us while we're trying to get this car out, dragging it out. And the whole time I was on APRS, I had multiple people watching my progress, and just being able to know that people were watching. Sure. And knew that if I stopped moving for 5 hours, it's probably not good. They need to send search and rescue out. Being able to have that communication back to, backup is massive. And if you're going out on a trip that is a recovery, you're planning on it being a recovery, have some sort of way to get back in contact with backup if you need it.
Right.
100%.
That's good. So while you were talking, I kind of thought of two in a way. Well, I had the one that I've always thought of, but I wanted to go back to kind of sort of the camping gear side of things that we were talking about. I think being able to have a fire would be a good thing if you're going to have to spend the night. We're out in the snow, so less likely you're going to start a forest fire. The hardest thing would be to trying to find dry wood to use to make a fire with, but just having a level, and this is sort of where my mind went, is having a way in case of an emergency, you have a way to get somebody warm. And that came from the in case of emergency. You definitely in this instance need to have some first aid kit or some first aid, equipment with you, whether it's, just minimal band-aids up to a full trauma kit, at minimum have something bare minimum first aid related out there for you. So there's a bunch of good companies that make first aid kits. I have a company called like Survival Wear. What did we used to talk about one a while ago? Expedition something.
Yeah, Exploration Ready.
That's it. Yeah.
I don't know if they're still doing those. I got to check in with Chris.
Okay. Yeah.
But yeah, get a first aid kit. Another item I always carry with me in snow recovery or anytime I go into the snow.
Hand warmers.
That's a good one. I don't actually carry them though.
Okay.
But that's a good one to have in the rig once winter season comes around.
That safety thing that we handed out in the gift box.
Oh, the snow kit?
Yeah.
That's a good kit. I was really impressed with those. No, it's my chainsaw.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one too.
The snow is heavy. Snow is very heavy stuff. And you never know if you're going down a trail, you could have trees come down while you're down that trail very easily.
Yeah. We talked about that with John the other day when he was wheeling out and cut a bunch of trees and somebody else was wheeling in and cut a bunch of trees and they met each other. And then while they passed each other and continued on, they still had to cut trees that have fallen in the amount of time.
The other person cut them.
Yeah, since the other person cut them.
Yep. Yeah. So wintertime, if you have a chainsaw, take it with you 100%. That's one of the worst things. If you go down a trail and you get stuck now out in that trail, you can't get out because a tree came down across the trail and while you were out there, that's the worst. So,
yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of little items like that we've forgotten in this chat, but I do believe that we've covered a good vast majority of what needs to be decided on. How do you figure out, how do you go about figuring out a snow recovery, what you need to carry with you to go out and do a snow recovery. Is there any other last minute thoughts that you kind of had?
Not really. I mean, that's the good point is that, we're not, again, as always, we are not the final say on any of this stuff. Our goal running this podcast is to get the juices flowing, conversations going.
Yeah.
So if this gets you thinking about stuff that you bring along or stuff that you're like, oh shit, that's right, I do need to put that avalanche shovel in my rig now for winter or something like that. That's what we're here for. We're not here to tell you have to do this, you have to take that, you can't take that, don't take that. No, that's stupid. Our goal is to get the conversations going.
Yeah.
So,
and for the snow we have here in the Sierras is completely different than the snow you have in the Midwest. And how we do recoveries out here might not make at all sense on how you guys do recoveries out there, because it's just so much more powdery and than our Sierra cement.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So there's different situations. The best thing to do is know what resources you have and know how to use them and manipulate them for different situations.
Yeah.
That's the best thing, in my opinion, is the experience and the knowledge. So,
yeah, I've got a few days before this storm hits and a few days before the possible go out and recovery. And the thing that you're making me think of is I really need to anchor my bumper onto my truck if I'm going to go out there with you guys, because that could be a weak link of Bobcat. Is this bumper that's held on by half of the bolts that are supposed to be in there. For some random reason, the bolt holes that came on the bumper don't line up with the bolt holes on the truck. So I only attached the ones that did, and that was fine for summer rec wheeling. But if I need to get yanked out, that bumper will not hold. So before I do that, before I go out, if I'm going to be able to, I need to I need to attach that bumper.
Get it securely attached.
Yes. As best as possible.
Yeah. That's the thing I love. It's going to happen with snow and going snow wheeling, doing snow recovery stuff. You're going to get stuck. It's going to happen. It's don't get frustrated on it. And we've talked about this in the past. Anytime you go snow wheeling, have the expectation that things are never going to go as planned.
Yeah, right.
But that's the fun of snow wheeling for me.
Sure.
I love getting stuck in the snow and trying to figure out, okay, what strategy do we now have to employ in order to beat the snow? Right. So it becomes a big puzzle for me. And that's the part of snow wheeling I love. So just go into it knowing that you're going to have to use recovery equipment. It's going to come out. You're going to get experience with it. It's going to be a fun time. Just make sure you're safe with it and everybody comes back home alive.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Don't use the ball as a recovery point.
Please don't. Do not use a tow ball, please. Cool, man. I like it. Some good stuff. Some good tidbits here. Hopefully it gets everybody thinking about, as you're heading out in the snow, what do you plan for? If you're heading out for a snow recovery, what do you plan for? If you're in a situation where you need a recovery from a buddy or your buddy needs you to recover them, what are you going to plan for? What are you doing here? So hopefully it gets the ideas and the conversations going. That's what we're here for. That's what we love doing on the podcast, is talking about random stuff. So
absolutely. And if you guys have any other ideas or suggestions or things that we've forgotten off of this list, please feel free to write us and let us know. And we'll be happy to share that, because I think that would be outstanding information for everybody out there to just put another, drop of fuel in the gas tank or whatever you want to say.
Yeah.
You can email us, Jimmy or Tyler, at snailtrail4x4.com. You can find me over at snailtrail4x4. Tyler's over at 4x4 Toyota Tyler over on Instagram. And you can always call in and correct us. And at that number is 916-345-4744.
That's it.
Did I get it? Okay.
Yep. Yeah, man. Good stuff. We love hearing from everybody. So definitely call in, write in, get in contact with us somehow. We love hearing from you guys. You guys have great ideas. You guys are a lot smarter than we are. So we love hearing you guys' ideas and stuff that we forget. So definitely let us know. So with that, James, do you have any final words for everybody out there?
Well, if I'm going to put the bumper on, maybe I'll put a winch.
Aw, you just made me smile. And with that, my friends, keep crawling.
I got one for you. What's an astronaut's favorite part of a computer?
I don't know.
The space bar.
Yeah, I can see that.
The bar in space.
Space bar. When I die, I want to be cremated because it's my last chance to have a smoking hot body.